Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Avery and Ash on 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a licensed therapist and a professor, and let's see if anything of interest comes out of my face as I watch this show. Will you join me?
Let's build up that anticipation, because it will happen. And as a relationship coach, I think men tend to forget about how important it is for a woman to build an emotional connection.
So we'll say that that sort of statement drives me crazy. A lot of people say that, including in my profession. The implication is that women are emotional and men are physical when it comes to romance. That women need an emotional connection, men need a sexual connection. Women need to feel emotionally close to have sex, and men don't. And I have found clinically that not to be the case. So, there are different people, and sometimes it is slightly related to gender, usually socialization, maybe biology, hard to say. But there are plenty of men, believe me, they won't necessarily admit it because they'll be called, bad names by their guy friends, but plenty of men need an emotional connection before they feel comfortable having sex. And there are plenty of women who don't need an emotional connection to enjoy having sex with someone. So I don't fault him for saying that because a lot of people say that even in my profession, but that's just, it triggers something in me because that dichotomy is not the case. Everyone generally needs an emotional connection, maybe not to have sex, but everyone wants an emotional connection. Aside from very few individuals, we're talking like 1% or less of people don't seem to really need that. And even then we could hypothesize that they just gave up early in life to have that. Men and women and all genders want to have emotional connection, meaning a attachment with other people, whether that's romance or friend or family or whatever. We all need that. So anyway, end of rant.
I like to drink wine, and I also partake in cannabis, but Ash doesn't do any of that kind of stuff.
I just want to make sure that I don't have to, hide anything about myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I understand, and I understand your concern, and thank you for sharing that, because it is a concern that I can see that you're having.
Don't you always have, the perfect answer to everything?
Do I? I don't know. I have no idea.
It's like you're coaching me.
Am I?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was getting a similar vibe that she is talking about. It's hard to know where he's coming from. Some people have different ways of talking, and maybe that's just his way of talking. I think what she's feeling is an insincerity to it that is off-putting to her in some ways, and she's being playful about it. She's not freaking out yet about it, but she's like, "Oh, I kind of feel like you're coaching me," and that was the vibe I was getting as well. Again, like I said, maybe that's just the way he talks, and it is from the heart, and it is genuine, and not some game or some distancing thing that he's doing or trying to play a game. The part of it that I would focus on if they were talking in my office and she was saying this would be, I would ask him, okay, when she says those things, what goes on for you inside of you? Your response might be a little from the head of just like, okay, how do I manage this conversation? How do I be the right person? How do I say the right thing? Rather than being present, rather than being real, rather than being authentic, rather than being a human being. Human beings do not always have the right thing to say. And when you always have the right thing to say, it makes it look like you're not really there. You're not really invested. You're not really involved in the situation. And that doesn't mean you're supposed to say the wrong things, but it just means that real human interaction tends to be more messy, and there tends to be a vested interest. Like, it would be unusual, and maybe she's picking up on this pattern in him, is it would be unusual if everything was always fine with him. So I have a number of hypotheses that I've already said that are still in the works with him. One is that he, early in life, learned he had to be a good boy and had to be perfect all the time and had to not really be invested in order to get love and attention from people around him. He seems to exhibit some red flags for that. The other is that he feels he's not good enough on the inside to get people to love him, and so he feels like he has to be perfect all the time, and he has to play a game in order to get people to love him. That would be another guess. The other hypothesis, which I'm guessing a lot of internet people are throwing out there, is that he's a quote-unquote sociopath and that he doesn't have emotion and he's purposely manipulating her. I want people out there to use the word psychopath or to use the word antisocial personality disorder. In my circle, in my academic circle, we don't use the term sociopath. It's something that the internet uses a lot, movies, TV shows use a lot, and I've never heard someone in the clinical world, in my circle, use that. It's the DSM diagnosis is antisocial personality disorder. A related construct is psychopathic personality disorder, which is not in the DSM, but we still use it because it is useful to use. Sociopathy or sociopath is something in the literature that goes back several decades. It's not well defined or differentiated from psychopathy, and so we don't need the word sociopath. So there's that. So I'm guessing a lot of people have a hypothesis that he's a psychopath, that he is manipulating her, he doesn't care, and that he is just trying to get to the United States, or who knows. And that's absolutely possible as well. I will tell you that that's a rare condition. It's much rarer than people on the internet actually imagine. And people tend to just lump any behavior into psychopathy or sociopathy whenever they see the stuff, whereas usually, statistically speaking, it's much more likely to be one of those other hypotheses that I said before, like a lack of self-worth, which causes you to feel like you have to play games in order to get people to love you. So let's see what happens here.
Jeez.
You're like, thank you for saying that.
No,
I can
I'm
tell.
acknowledging the fact that actually it's a concern for you.
Another way of wording this hypothesis is that early in life, he actually learned subconsciously that he couldn't really even engage in his authenticity, that he had to cut himself off from his emotional center as a way of protecting himself from the disappointment of noticing his emotional center and expressing it and having be disappointed or abused or something, abandoned something. And so there's a possibility that he's not even really in contact with his authenticity, his realness, his real activity. So the thing that I'm thinking Avery is looking for is the human behind the niceness, the human behind the always says the right thing. Where is that human being that I can really connect to? So let's see what happens.
Okay.
That's it.
But you would totally support me?
God, I've always supported you, so that's not going to change.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Ash has an amazing talent for just making people feel comfortable.
But because of what Ash does for a living as a relationship coach,
Sometimes I wonder if he's just telling me what I want to hear because he knows what I want to hear.
Again, I want to decouple his potential defensive structure from being a relationship coach. They aren't necessarily convoluted or involved with each other. You can be a relationship coach and also be very good at speaking with women clients, and also be a very good dater and know how to say the right things, and completely separate from that, have a defensive structure in which you feel like you can't be authentic for fear of people abandoning you. These two people have broken up in the past. When he, on Instagram, posted this picture of these bracelets that said that he loved her and that was going too fast for her, and she, according to her, she ghosted him because of that. She's like, she broke up with him and she ghosted him. That must have been really hurtful for him. And so that might have been one of those moments of, oh crap, I was too authentic with her. I was being real. I have to not do that, because not only with Avery, but in my past, that also has gone wrong for me. So I've got to be on my game. Now, that could be a conscious decision, or it could be a defensive automatic reaction. We need more data to find out.
At this point, coming into tonight, being my full authentic self is extremely important. And I just hope that it makes a good impression on Antish.
We'll work it out. And I'm sure it's going to be positive. Always.
So right, there's that repetitive line. Everything's going to be fine. I'm sure everything's going to work out. I'm positive. I'm 100% sure everything's going to work out. Is that psychopathy, manipulation, trying to trick her? Or is that him saying that to himself? Is that a defense? It is a recognized Freudian defense mechanism that goes all the way back to the earlier part of the 20th century when they actually would observe people through psychoanalysis, that people would exhibit this defense of, so what would he be defending against? Well, what would be the gray zone? If he's always optimistic, what's the gray zone? Well, the gray zone involves factors that are outside of their control that will lead to them not being together and lead to her maybe not wanting to be with him. Maybe Taj's mother will get in the way. Maybe Ash's brother will get in the way. Maybe they won't love each other in the end. And he always jumps to, I'm 100% positive this is going to work. Everything's going to be fine. My brother's going to love you. The mother of Taj is going to approve. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. There's a possibility that what he's defending against when he's saying those things is his own terror of being alone and his own fears of her going, I'm out, because she's done that before. And maybe a lot of people have done that to him before. And so, but again, is that a conscious choice? Like, I need to trick her or I need to stay positive to keep her? Or is that an automatic reaction?
Brother who is the most important part of my life.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
That's very good.
How's it going? You well?
But because Avery and I, we did break up a few times, right now he doesn't completely trust her.
Okay, total speculation, just based on the little bit of body language we've seen so far, that they grew up in a family of origin where Ash was required to be the optimistic one, and the brother was supposed to be the realist and the skeptical one. That due to their upbringing, which may have had some kind of chaos or some kind of stress, I'm speculating a lot, by the way, that because siblings will develop different roles, different niches, if you will, in the family. And for Ash, maybe his role was to be the happy-go-lucky, everything's positive, everything's special, everything will work out, sort of optimistic point of view that really helped buoy the family in sometimes. And maybe the brother was the more realist, the cynical one, the one who had to point out the possibilities of bad things happening because a family also needs that. Now, in a well-functioning family, everyone will have a little bit of all of these roles. But in a family where there's a lot of stress, people tend to polarize and rigidly identify with one role because they feel like to step out of that role is to risk not getting love and attention. And so they become more and more specialized. And so we'll that's a hypothesis. Let's see if we have any evidence that can support that.
It's funny how these things happen. Just thinking about how you guys met on social media, and now we are here, and you guys are planning life together.
Yeah.
So, of course, all three of these people know that they're being filmed. They know that this is going to be plastered all over the internet for eternity. So who knows how that affects the way that they're talking. Maybe the producers are pulling the strings behind the scenes. Who knows? But the way that the brother just said that was interesting. It gives a weird vibe, right? It has a menace to it. But maybe if we could meet him, we would understand his vibe a little bit better. But let's see what else happens.
I don't know. I feel like everything has been like extremely natural. I haven't really experienced that with somebody.
Do you feel like you could commit yourself like for a long time to somebody? I mean, I understand you've had a few relationships before.
What? Wow. I mean, you're really grasping for straws. Yes, you adult woman, you've had a few relationships before. Are you sure you can commit to a relation? Like, what? The average person has had a number of relationships before they find the person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with. So what are you saying, pal? Like, again, I always just wonder, is someone influencing the situation? I don't know, but that was a ridiculous statement, I just have to say.
In my eyes, I've been completely devoted to every relationship I've been in. It just didn't turn out to be the right relationship.
How do you feel your children will react to Ash?
I mean, obviously, it's going to be a different situation, but I feel like he would be a great addition to the dynamic that we already have set.
Interesting.
Interesting. What? I swear to God, if I was on this show and if I would, because they do this often on this show where the third party comes in and grills the person. I swear to God, if I was Avery, I'd be like, I don't appreciate this vibe. So, pal, if you want to have a conversation, then I'd like to get to know you as well. But I don't want to be interrogated. So that we're done. I'm done answering your dumb questions. But if you want to have a conversation, you want to talk about my favorite movie, you want to talk about my dreams, you want to answer my questions because I'm curious about you because you're his brother. If you want to have a real conversation, then let's go for it. But this, you're the cop and I'm the suspect bullshit is going to end right now. I swear to God, that's what I would say. So I really feel for the people who are put in this position. Of course, later on in the season, Ash will be grilled by her friends or whatever. So I would have a similar feeling there as well.
From what I can see, my prediction is they will have problems. But Ash does not listen to anyone's advice. He will do whatever he wants, but still, he should be concerned about it. I think from my point of view, I can see the difficulties and I don't know how this can work, but might need to drink some more alcohol.
All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which we follow Ash and Avery. Tune in next time when we continue with their story. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.